This video is for business leaders who want to teach their employees to motivate themselves. Self-reinforcement is actually better than IQ for predicting success. But as individuals, we have to have a disciplined approach to this. Otherwise, we're going to spend all our time rewarding ourselves and none of our time actually achieving the goals we want to do. So make sure that when you do it, you're actually rewarding yourself for a task finished. So for myself, and I suspect others, it's best to actually reward yourself after the target behavior. There may be some instances, or maybe you're a rare individual where you can reward yourself before and then do the task. But for the most part, that isn't going to work for most people, I think. So as a rule of thumb, just, reward yourself after. That might sound silly, but, you can go, well, I'm going to reward myself, and then I know I'm going to do the task. I would say probably not, but if it works for you, you can't argue with results. Also, if you're going to experiment with rewarding yourself before, make sure you start with the reward following the behavior so you can establish a baseline to see what that looks like, so that you know, in fact, that you are performing equally or better to how you would if you self-reinforce or self-reward after the fact. So according to the principles of operant conditioning, which this really is, like Pavlov's dog, the next and probably the most important thing, other than perhaps the direction or the placement of the reinforcement, is the time between the target behavior and the reward. The time between finishing your target behavior, your target work, your target task, and your reward should be in the range of seconds, and better yet, fractions of seconds. The sooner you can pair it, the better. In fact, it may shock you to learn that dogs are actually only slightly worse at learning, takes slightly longer to learn using operant conditions than humans. So most higher non-human animals learn almost at the same rate as humans when it comes to operant conditioning. So treat yourself immediately the same way you treat Fido after he's done your favorite trick. Immediately is the key there. So now there's some challenges, and the challenges are what, how much, and what type. So reward yourself immediately for sure. Make sure it's something that you really enjoy, but be careful. Before we get on to that, what you really enjoy can be defined by such things as mindset. One of my favorite reinforcements, honestly, is I drank way too much Cola Zero, which is Japan's version of Diet Coke. Though I think you probably in North America have Cola Zero and Diet Coke. We only have the Cola Zero here. So when I'm doing some work, and even though I drink it quite consistently, what I do is I start thinking of it. I frame it as a short-term mindset. I frame it as a reward for doing something. Then it becomes a reward. So you can define a reward just by how you think about it. And that's actually a really clever technique to use this operant conditioning a little more effectively on something that otherwise you might go, well, I get it anyway, so it's not a reward. It is if you decide it is. So for example, here's where you'd have to be really careful. If you treated yourself with a 1,000-calorie ice cream sundae after doing 300 calories worth of exercise, that isn't going to give you a six-pack. So make sure that the reward is in alignment with your goals rather than counter to them. So in a case like that, reward yourself with a non-caloric thing. I'm on a yoga ball, as I think I've said before, so I might do my happy dance. Seems silly, but you finish something off, even if it's 20 minutes, half an hour and a half, and then you do something, you even smile, pat yourself on the back. Seems silly, but self-reinforcement works. So Another thing you could do, you could say reward yourself by watching the next episode of Umbrella Academy, which I'm probably going to do right after this. We're playing Fortnite for 10 or 20 minutes. So that leads to the other part, and that is how much you should reward yourself, or for how long, if it's a time-based reward. And that is, the minimum dose is sort of ideal, because that way you're mostly productive and spend less time rewarding yourself. But you got to make it the minimal effective dose. So you have to make it so that the reward is sufficient, that it keeps you motivated to do the work. Less than that, and you lose motivation. More than that, and you're just hanging around being lazy and occasionally doing some work. It's not really where you want to go. So that's your minimum effective dose. So you could say maybe 10 minutes of Fortnite for 1 hour of writing a report, especially something that you're having trouble getting motivated to do. Or maybe you do a whole episode of Stranger Things for 8 hours of crushing paperwork that you don't really want to do. Now, we do have a hint in biology of what could be a really useful way to do this. So this would be combining our natural rhythm, our natural daytime rhythm, with our this reward paradigm. And that is something called Ultradian Rhythms. Now at night, right, we go from awake down into sleep and then back up. And this whole cycle usually takes about 90 minutes. And then we go up and we dream for a while, and then we go back down. The whole cycle takes about 110 minutes. That same cycle actually happens to us when we're awake during the day, and it's called the Ultradian Rhythm. So you get about 90 minutes of higher energy. So it does the same thing. It goes up and then back down and then back up again. So it goes up, and this whole time for the upside of the cycle is about 90 minutes. And then about 20 minutes is the down part of the cycle. That's where your metabolism, your alertness, your cognitive capacity is actually limited. So I would encourage you to experiment with that. I've done a little bit on it and it seems to work pretty good. What I want you to do, though, is skip the Pomodoro nonsense. I can't find any scientific backing for such a short cycle and why that would work. I think those cycles are arbitrary. If you have evidence otherwise, throw it in the comments or contact me directly. I really do want to keep this as scientific as I can. I found no scientific evidence that Pomodoro is anything but a fantasy. Good idea, cyclic work and rest is great, but the period of time they're using seems to be a random or arbitrary figure. Another one, same goes for the now famous 52 minutes of work followed by 17 minutes of rest. Well, I contacted the organization that did that research, and that was about 6 to 12 months ago, and they have yet to respond. So you decide for yourself what that means. So there it is, rewarding yourself immediately, doing it in work cycles of 90 minutes of work with 20 minutes of rest or reward can help you keep you motivated through challenging tasks you're having trouble being motivated to do. Now, if anything I said today is beneficial or useful, please share, like, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff. This was Crush It Club, episode 175. Use self-reward to stay motivated. My name is Tim B. Green. Bye for now.